I just want to give an overview of four key principles that I have encountered in my own reflection and journey, talking with people, working with people. Four key principles that I think are really helpful, key, important as we think about theology or understanding God in the context of trauma, understanding how that all works. And these principles, it's not that everything else we know doesn't count. It's not that. It's just that everything else we know is really important. But if we remember and attend to these four things, they bring in just a really helpful dynamic and context that adds to what we already have experienced and understood from the Lord. So the first one, and those of you who hear me talk on a Sunday, some of this will be familiar stuff because it's really for me, and so I often talk about it. But so the first one is our belovedness. That's the first one. And it's specifically that we are beloved. You are beloved from before the creation of the world. So before anything was created, so this is from Ephesians 1, before anything was created, God knows you, loves you, chose you. You are the apple of his eye from before anything. And that was really significant for me in my journey. And that's how God, when I was about 14, that was the moment. I came to faith earlier than that, but that was the moment where I was like, oh, okay. And for me, it was about God doesn't love me out of pity. He doesn't love me because I'm broken. He's not interested in me because of my trauma or anything. It's not like he loves me and he's attentive to those things, but that's not why. He loved me before anything happened. You are the apple of his eye from before the beginning. And out of that, there's all sorts of things that come out of that he loves us, he created us. We are created out of love. We are created to be loved. We're created to flourish. We're created, he wants goodness and life and flourishing, and then he creates creation, and all of that is to be flourishing, and our job within that is in our flourishing to cause everybody and all around us to flourish. God's design is all comes from this thing of love, this place of love. So that's the first principle. And then the second principle builds on that. I'll go for this one. The second principle builds on that, and it's to do with the nature of God. And so you have Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So we serve a triune creator God who is love. And so they are one heart. They are not like you, me, and somebody else trying to be one. It's not that. They are one. They are one heart, one mind, one purpose. They might have different roles, but they are one. And love. God is love. John tells us. So the nature, the fact that they are three, their existence, God's existence is love. But that love is not contained. So the nature of love is it's outward. Love reaches out. Love is constantly out. So each father is constantly out to Jesus and Holy Spirit. Jesus is constantly out to Father direct. Holy Spirit is constantly out to Father and Son. And they are constantly out. That's why we exist. That was the movement and the momentum of creating us, and it was love. We've just said that. So that's the direction. That's the movement. And that is really important. Really important. And we'll explore what some of the implications of that is. Their oneness, that it's love, that it's outward. All of that is super important. And it brings us to the third principle, which builds on that, is that God is on a mission. God is on a mission. So his love, he is interacting with his beloved you and me, with his beloved creation. He is on a mission. And what's his mission? Is to make all things new, to put everything to rights, to restore, to bring it all back in line and in sync with his design. That is his mission. He's constantly at work, constantly actually pulling us and interacting with us and present to us. And for us to attend to, but he is on a mission. So God is at work everywhere. Everywhere. God is at work, regardless of whether we are attentive or not, whether we notice him or not, whether we realize him or recognize him or not. He is at work. He is on a mission in the darkest places and the most beautiful places. He is right there at work. That also has lots of implications on how we think about different things like mission. And then the fourth thing is that God is many things, all powerful, all knowing, but he is also powerless. God's powerlessness seems to be his trump card. So right from the start, even just the fact that he chooses to work through you and I. Right from the start, in Genesis 1, he delegates, he says, now you tend creation, look after it. He tends to go for the weakest, to use the smallest, the weakest, the least significant. He tends to do that. Finally, he becomes an embryo in a young woman's womb. He goes through the birth process. If I was God, I would have chosen to do that probably around now. Maybe, find the country with the best antenatal care, the brilliantest birth stuff and, maternal health stats. But no, he doesn't. It's a little bit like I've been listening to The Lord of the Rings whilst I was ill, Return of the King. I don't know if anybody, are people here familiar with The Lord of the Rings? Some, not all. But you've got these two little characters, Sam and Frodo. And I'm assuming I can, if you haven't read or engaged with them, can I give you a spoiler? Is that okay? All right. You have these two little characters, and the way, and they're pitched against, the Dark Lord, and the tactic is to walk in to Mount Doom, basically the heart of a volcano, with nothing but the clothes on their back. And the Mount Doom is in the center of this whole place that is full of, armies and stuff, and the Dark Lord is all about power and might. So he is expecting a show of power and might. And he is undone by the most weak, vulnerable, quiet, completely misses it, totally destroyed. Which I think is a beautiful parable of the cross. The powers of darkness thought that they had triumphed. And there is God, utterly powerless, utterly powerless. And his powerlessness is actually what undoes the whole thing. So that becomes the fulcrum of the entire story, is actually the powerlessness of God unravels all the effects of what we call sin. So this is, for me, this is the hardest, this is the most challenging of the four principles, and we'll explore it a little bit more. But what I am discovering is that with those four things interacting, therein lies incredible hope for the darkest impacts of trauma, and incredible hope for us as we are entrusted with each other's trauma, as we are entrusted to bring the good news. Sometimes the good news that God is powerless into the most horrendous situations, and see actually healing and unraveling